Alright, so in this video tutorial, what I'm going to do is we're going to create kind of like from the Avengers movie, that Thanos snap thing. That's basically what we're going to create. If you ever want to look it up, it's called like Dissipation. You'll find a bunch of them, and you might find ones that work differently. What I'm going to do in order to create mine is use sort of this dissipation effect in combination with a stone effect. And I'm going to combine the two to make something sort of new that'll look a little bit better than either one of those on their own. And that's kind of what I almost would suggest for this project, maybe even. You can just straight up do one of the effects if you want, but if you don't, you could try to combine it with other ones if you're trying to get like a certain look, okay? So anyway, I will have the files up, and it's just these three images here. I'll have them in the lab materials in the section that you're watching this video in. But you can just go ahead and open them all up in Photoshop. Okay, so we should have all three opening up. And we're going to use this one as my my main picture. So I'm just going to crop this to the 6:9 to 300 ppi. So I'm just going to go to my crop tool and width height resolution, the second one, and I'm going to choose 6 inches. Make sure it doesn't say px in there, because otherwise it'll be a tiny little thing. So make sure it says in or 9 by 6 at 300 ppi, and that looks fine to me. I'll hit the little, I don't see a thing that's got a checkbox, but we'll just hit that twice. There's the checkbox. And I'm just going to control minus, and there we go. Okay, so that'll be my backdrop. And then what I want to do is I want to bring my hand in. So I'm going to go to my hand picture here, and I need to crop this hand. I actually have to cut it, so it's going to be somewhat destructive, but it's necessary in order for this effect to work. So as per usual, brought to specific. So what I'm going to do is use that newer tool here, the object selection tool. And I'm just going to basically go over my hand here with the object selection. And it should cut pretty close. That's not too bad, right? So now I'm going to use the next most automated tool, which would be the quick selection tool. So I'm just going to control plus. And now you'll see that it's automatically plus. You can see you can start with a fresh one each time. Always add or subtract. If you hold Alt, you'll see it'll turn into a little minus symbol on my cursor. Or you can actually see it highlights it up here. So you can either click on this or hold Alt. I'm just going to hold Alt just because. And I'm just going to kind of click and drag a little. I like to do a little bit at a time. Like that. And there's another little bit down here, I believe. Yep, Alt and click and drag. Okay. So we'll say that that's not bad. Now there's obviously a little bit more here that could also be done. So then I would just go to the next level up. So I'm just going to go to, let's say, the magnetic lasso tool. And when I start doing this, if I click on this, it's actually going to make a new mask. It's not going to use the one I already have. So Alt will do subtraction. If you hold Shift, that's addition. So I'm just going to get even closer here. And I'm just going to hold Shift and start at the corner here where it's still good. And I am just going to click, click. Might have to manually click a little here. Looks like I do. It's not doing a very good job. Come on. You can do it. There it goes. Click. Oops. And I hit backspace to move back. And you can see. Oops. I think it went a little farther out than what I wanted. And I'm just going to kind of go down. It went a little bit too far out over here. And then I'll just click, click, click all the way up here, and then just double click, and that will add that. Right? So I can kind of go through. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to really probably notice it anyway. There's this little bit of the thumb here is also kind of messed up. So I'm going to hold Shift again, click, and just drag around. I don't know how it messed this up, but it somehow did. Click, click, double click. Good. So that section's now added. And are any other pieces? Okay, so the sides, and so you can see there's a little bit here that could be added. So maybe I'll just do the regular polygonal lasso tool. I'm just going to hold Shift again and click, 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 double click. And I need to get off this little nublet, so I'm going to hold Alt and click, 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 double click. And that'll cut that bit off. Could be obviously a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is hit Q for the mask mode. I guess mine's green apparently. And then what I can do is use my brush and just make sure you have black and white. And I'm going to use Shoink, just a regular old hard brush. And I'm just going to look for anything that looks particularly really bad. So over here it was looking kind of chunky, I think because of the hair. So I'm just going to use the bracket keys next to my P key. And I have black on right now. And I'm just going to kind of go like this. And then I'm going to hit X and paint in white. X will swap between my background and foreground color. You just tap it. So I'm painting white, and then I'll tap X and take a little bit off. Just trying to clean this edge so it doesn't, a little bit's okay, obviously, but, oops, wrong one, X, okay. Looks like I missed a little bit there. You know, I would spend a lot of time on this if I was super concerned, but in our case, I kind of don't care so much. I'm going to hit Q to go ahead and back out of this, and then what we can also do if we want, we could go to select, and then there is selected mask, and this brings up this menu here. And I like to do with the, not the black on white, on black here for my option. And then I take the opacity and go way up so I can see it against black. It depends on what I'm working with. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to actually, just because some of it's still a little bit harsh, like in here, I'm just going to take this smooth, and that will kind of soften the jaggedness. And you could do feather, and you could also shift the edge, like if it's grabbing too much or too little, that will move it outwards or inwards. I'm not going to worry about actually painting the refinement, because I think that's fine. I just want to do a little bit of softening. You don't even have to do this stuff if you don't want. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to hit OK. Hopefully it'll let me. I think I got it. Okay, good. All right. Good. So we'll call that good enough. It's not super great, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to do Control C for copy. And inside of this picture, I'll hit Control V. There it is. And we'll adjust this in a second. Actually, we'll adjust it now. So, can I make this? I was thinking if I can make a smart object, but I don't think I can. That was what I want to do. So, I'm going to hit Control T or Command T. Whenever I say Control, just make it Command if it's on a Mac. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this smaller. Be sure not to hold Shift, because usually you do. And I'm just going to have, let me see, I just got to position my hand here, right in the center, just like you're not supposed to. Problem is if I go over here, then then it's like, it's competing with these elements. I feel like if I go in the center, I'm not creating as many tangents and such. So we'll call that good. I'll hit enter, and that is a good start. So now what I'm going to do is, I want to make a displacement layer, okay? And I'm going to use this as my displacement, and you'll see what I'm saying in a bit here. So what I'm going to do is with this selected, I'm going to right click over top of this layer, and I'm going to do duplicate layer, such as we often do. But instead of it going into the document that it currently is, which it would just make another layer and call it layer 1 copy, which is normally how it is, what we're going to do is actually have it do a new document. And then we're just going to call this displacement. And we're going to use this to displace my my rock texture that I'm going to place over top of this. So we'll just call it displacement. Going to hit OK. It's going to be right here. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And then it's going to, yeah, we do want to save it. And then you have to tell it where you want to save it to. So in my case, I'm going to save it right in the finished folder, which is right next to where I'm working. So I'm just going to call it displacement.psd and hit save. And we'll hit OK. All right, and now that's gone. Okay. Now what I want to do is actually bring in my rock texture and use that over top of my guy here. So I have my rock texture right here, right? So I'm just going to Control A or Command A to select all, and then Control C or Command C. You can get them up here too. So all and select all, and then I guess edit copy. Okay, but you should get used to using those hotkeys because we use those all the time, and we don't need this either. So nope. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste this over top of this. I'm going to move this over here, hopefully. Yay. Okay. And we'll just Control V to paste it. Hopefully. You can do it. Maybe not. Let's try again. Control V. There it goes. Okay. And if you look, you can see my hand's in the vertical position, and this is in a horizontal. So just to maximize its use, I'm going to hit Control T. And then as I rotate, I'm going to hold Shift, which will make it into, 15-degree increments. Okay? Now, it's not going to be quite big enough. So I'm going to do is I'm going to snap it. I'm going to try and make sure I'm over the one finger. And then I'm just going to grab this corner and make sure it's over top of the other one, and then hit enter. Just want to make sure I cover the entire hand itself in order for it to, so that it'll cover the whole thing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and apply that displacement. So with this layer still selected, just go to Filter, and then we want to do Distort, and it's going to be Displace. And change the scale to 5 by 5 should be good enough. Stretch to fit and repeat edge is fine. It's going to ask what file you want. There's my file right there. So just navigate to that picture. Remember when we saved the layer and we saved it as displacement? That's what we want. That's what we're using to displace this. And we'll hit open. You're going to see it shift. It's going to be very subtle, but it'll shift a little bit. Now, I have all this extra part I don't need. So this is a neat little trick. If you want to make a selection based off of an alpha, if you hold Control and you'll see when I hover over this layer 1, see how this marquee symbol pops up? It might be Command. I think it's Command on a Mac. So hold Control or Command and click on it, and then that will make a selection out of that alpha on that layer. Now what I'm going to do is while I'm on here, I'm just going to go ahead and make a mask. Click the mask button, and boom, it's masked out the thing there, which is it's pretty sweet. Okay, so from there, what I want to do is you can see it doesn't look as good as it could be because it does the displacement part, but it doesn't have any of the alpha parts. So what I'm going to do with this selected is I'm going to change the layer blending mode to multiply. And you're going to see it's going to look like this. And we get this kind of cool textural look, and you can kind of see where we're going with this, right? Okay. So, that is all fine and dandy, but I would like it to be a little bit more, I would like it to be partly gray. Like, I want to fade out that over here is flesh, and then over here is stone, and then kind of have this sort of in the middle, so it looks like it's creeping over. So, some of it starts fresh, and then some of it's not. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this and make a new I'm going to do new adjustment layer. I'm just going to do hue saturation, and I'm just going to take the saturation all the way down so it becomes gray. I only want it to affect the layer underneath it, so I'm just over top of this. I'm going to right click and do create clipping mask, so it'll only affect now the hand. And since it's all white, it affects the entire hand. But what I want to do is not have it affect the entire hand, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to my brush over here, and then it's important to choose a good brush. So let's see if we can find a brush that doesn't stink. And let's see. So splatter brush. Is this one? I need to make sure you're using black. And then I think this brush looks pretty good. Yeah, we're going to use this one. Okay, so I'm going to use this splatter brush here, but you just want something that's speckly, right? Imagine this is the part that's supposed to be looking like it's kind of crumbling off. So this is one of those things where if you have nicer brushes, you can utilize those, but I don't. So I'm going to make sure I'm on this layer here on the mask, and I'm going to paint black on the mask on this side of the hand. I'm going to have this part of the hand be the flesh, and then this part be the rock, and I'm going to have it fade off to the right, okay? So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to brush this a whole bunch, like this. And I'm going to leave the right side very stony, okay? Not really showing up too much there, but hopefully it's working. Okay. And so what that's doing is it's allowing this hue saturation to affect only the right side of it, so it's a little bit looking like that, which is good for us. Good. Now the other thing I need to do is I don't want the stone on the very edge here either, so I'm just going to go ahead and select this one's mask, which is making the stone appear over top of this, and this time I'm going to paint black actually still. Oh, now I can see the splatter brush. And I'm going to paint on this side. And let's make this splatter brush a bit smaller. And I'm going to use this over here on the side of his hand. Well, it was my hand. Okay. Like so. And then I'll just make the brush even smaller. Just want to make it very obvious that this part of the hand, this is one of those things where you could probably spend a good amount of time, doing a better job. But okay, so now you can see it looks like the hand is more or less kind of turning to stone, right? As it looks through, it kind of looks like it got charred or something with lava, especially like the middle part, which I think is kind of cool. But anyway, so we have our base shape. Now what I need to do is I need to make it look like it's fading away and also have it flaking off, right? So if you look, it's not doing that right now. Right now we just have a hand transforming into stone. So what I'm going to do is I want to take all of this and make it so that we can basically make this part start to fade away. So I'm going to select all of these, not the background layer, and I'm going to make a new folder, okay? And that is our folder, and that's holding all the things that's making this hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mask on that, okay, on that group, and I'm going to paint black, and we're just going to dabble here with this blob brush. And I don't know if it's called blob brush, but whatever it is, this brush here, and I'm just going to basically make this part of it start to disappear. So this is one of those things where you're going to want to really kind of, balance it out. Okay, so now you can see it looks like it's falling apart, but I don't have the part that's pulling away. So I've got this part pretty good. I just need to do one more aspect, right? So to do that, actually, I'm going to open this back up, and I need this layer here. So I'm just going to, with it selected, hit this, oops, that's not what I want to do, sorry. We'll just go ahead and duplicate it. Right-click, and we will, or you can hit Control-J, duplicate layer, and just leave it like normal settings, hit OK. And I want this one, I'm going to pull it down and underneath, all the way down to here. So if you look, see how it's indented outside of it? It's because it's not actually in the group. It's actually underneath. And you can see the hand through it now. Okay? Okay, so with this layer still selected, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to Filter, Liquify. Okay, so this is my extra hand. Okay, so now I have this liquefy. You want to keep using the booger picker over here. Okay, this is like the push button. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I want to take my density and make sure it's really high. And what you're going to do is we want to smear basically the hand out like this. Okay? And you just like that. Okay? Oh, not preview. Where's the background? Show backdrop. I don't need that. Okay. It looks great. Yeah, it looks kind of weird and gross, but it'll be fine in a second. You shall see. Have faith. And let's see if we can get this in here as well, just so that it's, if I do have some spitter spatter here. Okay. Okay, like that, right? So something like that, you can do a better job, but you get the idea. Hit OK. And this looks great. It's exactly what I wanted, right? Actually, let's put this above that layer. So we'll put it above. Darn it. I didn't want it in it. I meant above it. Get above. Come on. Right there. Okay, so now it's above it. What we're going to do is we're going to mask this out. So hit the mask button, but you're going to see it's going to automatically mask it as white. What we're going to do is just going to paint the whole thing black. So use your paint bucket. It might be underneath the gradient tool. Just make sure it's paint bucket and paint black. So now that makes it so it's not there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it being in there. So I'm going to go back to my brush, and this time I want to paint not black, but white. Okay. And there's something weird going on here. Let me see something. I just want to make sure everything is... make sure this hue saturation here, make sure that you create a clipping mask. Because I don't know if you noticed, it was making everything else black and white. I thought I had done that, but I must not have. So when I did the hue saturation, just make sure that's also got a clipping. I swear I did that. Okay. So anyways, go back to this one. And we're going to paint white, and I'm just going to use that kind of same blobby brush here. And I'm just going to paint white Oh, still in black. Make sure you paint white. Onto this. Oh, whoops. Undo all that. I'm an idiot. Apparently I was... there we go. Now we'll just shift Z. Okay. Make sure you're on this. I didn't realize I was actually on that one. You got to be on the actual mask layer. And we're white. Okay. It's like, why is this not working? And then what you can do is... I like to make it big so you get some bigger chunks in here. And then make it a little bit smaller and smaller. Feels like the intensity of this is like low or something. Until basically you can see this effect. So like if I took this off, let's see, if I put, let's say, a solid color behind it, G, you could see basically that it's coming off. It's like dissipating. It's a little less obvious with the background here, so there might be some things we would want to do. Also, I'm not using the greatest brush. You can see it's like doing these little blobby things. But I've seen people, what they do is that instead of just using even like, if you can find like a cool scratchy brush or something that looks like dust and molecules and what have you, that's obviously best. But I've seen people, what they'll do is they'll do like butterfly. They'll find like butterfly brush, and it makes it look like, you know, when someone's blowing a flower, it looks like butterflies coming off of it, like it's breaking off into butterflies. I've seen all sorts of, you can do a lot of cool, interesting things with this that you can play around with. Like I might even like on this one, I don't know if this would work. You could try to do a drop shadow, but I think part of the problem is I think the brush itself is not, I think it's brushing not 100%, but it looked like, maybe because it's on this mode? I don't know, but whatever reason. But that's basically the idea. But you can see I mixed two effects, which to me have a better result than just doing one effect, okay? So yeah, there you go. That's how to do this kind of cool dissipation effect. And I mean, you can apply this to anything. You know what I mean? I only did it just to my hand, and this was a playground my kids play on. So, but yeah, hopefully you get an idea of how it works from this. And so if there's someone you really hate, you can just go ahead and make them disappear, and you can have it as your backdrop for your computer or something. All right, or wallpaper, I should say. All right, good game.